One of the hardest parts of having a baby is seeing the bounce back culture and feeling the pressure to go back to where you once were. There are two sides. There is one side that says you should go back to exactly how you were before baby, as fast as possible. The other camp says that you should embrace yourself as you are after baby and with no concern at all about how you eat or exercise. Are either of these views correct? In this video, I'm going to tell you what I did right and what I did wrong based on what bounce back culture told me. And by the end, you'll see what I think of bounce back culture and how to get your body back in a healthy way. So these were the things that I did right. So the first one, it seems really small, but getting tons of steps in. I don't know, I started at like 8,000 steps a day and worked my way up to like 14,000 steps. And it doesn't seem like it would add up to much, but that actually is what helped me pretty seamlessly lose some baby weight, which I'll get to that in a second. May or may not have been a good thing. But so I would either do it on the treadmill when my baby was napping, or I would do it on, we had this track that would go around our gym. And then while my husband was working out, I would walk around the track, carry the baby, get tons of steps in. And since he was a big kid, still is, he would add like quite a few pounds. And so worked up a little bit extra of a sweat that way. But this is the thing where I feel like there's a huge misconception with nursing and just like with being a mom in general, is that like you'll gain a bunch of weight, like, oh, well, you're a mom, good luck. But it doesn't have to be that way. Because what I find, so here's a little story time. My mom, when she was nursing all of her kids, she was like, oh man, I always gain weight when I nurse kids. And she thought that like, you don't burn any calories from nursing, which you actually burn a ton of calories, like 400 to 600 calories per day, just because you're making milk. And so it's just my theory, but what I think it really is you move less than you did before. Like you don't go to work, you don't have school, you're probably not running as many errands. And so you're just like less active in general. And those little things really do add up, which is why something as simple as just getting some steps in really makes a difference. Another thing that helped me was eating healthy, but not too healthy. And I will tell you in a minute what too healthy means. But what I found worked for me was eating my protein first. So like literally eating my protein source on my plate first, and then moving on to my veggies, and then any carbs after that. So because I found that like if I started eating my carbs, I would just like go crazy on my carbs and I wouldn't feel like full sooner. So eat the protein, then the veggies, then the carbs. And that alone will help you just like eat less, and you probably won't go back for seconds quite as fast. And then you're also focusing on the things that actually give you like the most nutrient density, which tends to be the protein and veggies. Carbs are also important, don't get me wrong, but those are easy to go a little crazy with. Oh, this one, also timing meals. This made a huge difference because early on, I had no idea. I was like, why do I get so, like I would get so angry. And it took me so long to realize that nursing hunger is freaking real. Like it will turn you into a monster if you let your blood sugar drop. So once I learned, okay, don't let your blood sugar drop, that made a huge difference. So eating regular meals, I thought, oh, I'm doing myself a favor because if I skip meals, then I'll have more I can eat later in the day and I can have a little treat. And it's like, it doesn't really work like that, because if you're cranky and having cravings until you get to that treat at night, not worth it. And it ultimately leads to you, or at least for me, like when my blood sugar would drop, that's when I would go for a snack that was way more unhealthy. We all know that having a baby, it's not easy on your sleep. That was the one thing I was prepared for becoming a parent. And it's really hard to get sleep with a baby, but yeah, try and take naps when you can, because if your sleep suffers, then your hunger goes way up and it's hard to keep the weight off. This is going to be so controversial, but I would say sleep train ASAP. But yeah, I actually made this mistake with sleep because I was like, you know what, I'm going to actually just get up early to do cardio and to go to the gym. And looking back on it, I think that like increased my stress levels. And now that I'm not doing that, I actually feel so much better. So Could just be that my hormones like kind of chilled out and leveled off. Or it could be that my body was just like, just get more sleep, girl. So that was surprising. And it definitely took some time for me to get back into the gym, and that's okay. Like, it's better to work your way up in a sustainable way into something that you're gonna enjoy through all your pregnancies, all of your postpartum periods, literally for the rest of your life, than to like, okay, I'm gonna lose 15 pounds in 2 months and I'm gonna get back to pre-baby weight. That's just a lot of pressure. So just ease back into going into the gym. I started around 3 or 4 weeks because my doctor, he was like, yeah, you're doing great. As soon as you feel ready, just start slow and then do whatever you're comfortable with. And since I've been lifting for a while, it was pretty easy for me to gauge how I was feeling and if I was going too hard. But even then, I love the gym too much, and I think I still ended up going too hard. And even though I'm talking about things that I did afterwards, I really think a huge part of my recovery and bouncing back actually started with like my prep before having a baby. So make it part of your life, please. Strength training makes such a huge difference. Even cardio as simple as walking makes a huge difference. It helps you maintain your bone density, your strength, everything that helps you. I'm just going on a tangent, but I love it and it's great. So just make it a part of your life, even if it's simple, even if it's literally 20 minutes a day. Anything helps. So remember when I said there's such thing as eating too healthy? So a lot of people think that like nuts are healthy and avocados are healthy and eggs and, whole grain, sourdough bread. Those things, don't get me wrong, are great. They're wonderful. But a lot of people just take it way too far. They're like, oh, I'll have a bowl of nuts as a snack. But what they don't know is that bowl of nuts is like 400 to 500 calories. It won't keep you full for very long. So I actually kind of fell into this trap. I had these like chicken nuggets that were super high in protein, but they were so palatable. They were delicious. And I would just like slam back a huge dinner plate full. And yeah, initially, like I think the first couple weeks postpartum, it didn't make a big deal because I caught on to it quickly. Like, oh wow, I can really just slam these back. But yeah, those added up quickly. Like a plate that I would make was close to 1,000 calories just of chicken nuggets, which was crazy. So even when things are healthy or high in protein, just check the nutrition label and don't load up on those. But on the other hand, there's taking the dieting to the extreme. So that means like focusing on macros way too much and trying to cut back to like 1,800 or 1,400 calories. I can't imagine eating that much while breastfeeding. I eat quite a bit more than 2,000 calories while breastfeeding, and I'm still like, I'm hungry. I'm a hungry gal. Anyways. But yeah, along that note is losing too much weight at once can lead to some muscle loss. Or if you lost some muscle during pregnancy, like I did, it kind of prevents you from regrowing that muscle quite as fast. Because about 4 months postpartum, I was like, I'm looking pretty good, but where's my butt? And so ever since then, I'm almost a year postpartum. And ever since then, I've just been focusing on growing my glutes, eating enough to grow my glutes, and that has been a game changer. So yeah, losing too much weight too fast, your milk supply will probably suffer, and that's not good for your baby. If you have a hungry baby and you're hungry, it's just a disaster. And on top of that, the metabolism takes a huge hit, and it makes it harder to lose weight later on. So that's why I'd say if you do want to lose any weight postpartum, especially like the first 6 months or so, try and keep it really minimal and don't put a ton of pressure on yourself to be exactly like you were pre-baby, because that's a lot of pressure and it's stressful. And then it just compounds and it's not fun. Here's a big thing is the scale does not mean everything. There's a huge difference between quality weight and not quality. If you have 145 pounds of muscle versus 145 pounds of a lot less muscle, it's going to look a lot different, trust me. About 3 months postpartum, I was like 142 pounds. And that was actually like my pre-baby weight. But then now I'm like 148 pounds and I'm about the same body fat type thing. Look about the same, except I have a bigger butt, which is nice, and I have more muscle, which just looks nice in general. And I have a faster metabolism, so it's just a win-win. So just keep in mind that the weight does not, or the scale does not mean everything, and your weight is just one piece of the picture. What I would say is yes, you can pay attention to the scale, but also pay attention to how your clothes fit. How do you look in progress photos? Don't obsess over it, but just like every couple weeks, maybe once a week, weigh in, take a progress photo, and just see, oh yeah, like I'm trending towards looking a little leaner and I look a little bit better than the week before. And that's really all we want. It's just putting those reps in and taking baby steps. While all of this is good, I love, working out, eating healthy, but sometimes putting too much focus on looks is not healthy either. And I definitely focused on my loose skin, especially for the first like 2 months postpartum. I was like, is this belly ever gonna go away? And my loose skin just was really, I don't know, it was disheartening. And um yeah, it was just hard for me to see that, and I focused a little bit too much on how I looked, which I think next time I'm just gonna focus on, being healthy and just doing what I can do and not like forcing myself into pre-baby me, because it's not going to be the same. You can get really close, but it's never going to be the same. So that's why I think that bouncing back is not a good view, because there's no going back to your old self. Once we commit to having a baby, it's only going forward from there. If you want to see the process of me bouncing forward, go check out my 75 hard videos. And it's just kind of fun to see what it's like to put on muscle postpartum and all the ups and downs with that. So, my opinion on bouncing back. And no judgment here, I just want to put that out there. But so many moms gain weight and they seem to never get it off. And it's not healthy. It makes future pregnancies less healthy, and it's just a snowball effect. But then you get the other side of the bounce back culture where it's like only focusing on looks, and this leads to not recovering from birth properly. And again, there's snowballs with this one. There's injuries and there's mental health problems, and just any extreme on either side just isn't great. So what's my take on bounce back culture? Find good information that's out there from reputable sources and put in the work. There is so much terrible information out there, and it's something that I kind of was like always comparing. I was like, oh, well, this person bounced back in like 4 months. This person bounced back, well, it took them like a whole year to bounce back. And it's different for everybody. And I kind of fell for some of that bad information. So I kind of regret that. And I just wish I'd built more. And yes, I bounced back, but it took a ton of work. Anyone can do it. I work a part-time job. I'm a part-time stay-at-home mom. I'm also doing this, which takes a decent amount of time. And I still want other hobbies, but I still made it work. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I really believe that. But fitness has to be prioritized. Sometimes that means waking up early or saying no to extra desserts or saying no to staying up late. So the main takeaway is everyone's journey is different. Put in the work to bounce forward, as I like to say. So keep taking life one rep at a time, and we'll see you guys next time.